Well, and I've always thought about the applications around real estate, around fractional ownership of assets or investments, or kind of anything that makes sense. And I guess if you have these distributed ledgers and everyone who is participating in the ownership or selling, all of a sudden it's almost like to me, it seems like it creates a secondary market for a lot of different items,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking at, again, kind of this fractional ownership model versus like an entire piece model.
Yep. And your background's real estate, right?
Real estate and then a fund manager.
And
So
fun. Okay.
so we run two real estate debt funds and then a third real estate equity fund.
Okay.
And so been a fund manager and then making real estate loans and buying and selling real estate.
Okay. Yeah. So, you would understand this very well. Like, what the concept you're talking about, which, a lot of people are trying to get involved in is unlocking capital,
That's right.
right? There's a lot of capital that's stuck there. Can we fractionalize or a piece of a home equity, or can we share in fractionalizing our home equity? There's actually an interesting project that just came out on the Avalanche blockchain called Homium.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, and they're fractionalizing shared home equity.
Which is interesting, right? Because it's essentially, if you can take a piece of someone's equity in their home and you can make the assumption in a strong real estate market that the value of that asset will increase, whatever that share of that is, right? And then if it can be sold, if there's an agreement, and again, this is a lot of concepts that I'm not familiar with, but if you can have a value agreement and then it can be sold, there can be a gain, but you can also have a nice store of value, and it can be one more capital application. The thing that's interesting to me is where security laws kind of start and stop in the intersection there of fractionalizing, because essentially, if we're doing that, are we creating a security out of everything? And I don't know how the SEC feels about that.
Well, yeah. So securities laws is predominant. Anytime you're going to issue some type of token, and a lot of these token issuers, and we're getting more. The guidance is getting more clear from the SEC and the CFTC. But yes, if you're going to be issuing a security, you certainly have to do everything by the way of the law. And on a project by project basis, I'm not going to speak to this kind of hypothetical, but yes, on a project by project basis, you want to know that like you're avoiding, breaking the law.
Sure, always important.
But I'll say this: the best blockchain applications, going back to kind of our thesis and what we're doing, the best application use cases of blockchains probably won't have tokens.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just going to be, a shared ledger between, people who want to share data or companies that want to share data, whether it's along a supply chain, whether it's settling trades, whether it's automating portfolio management. That is all just being done on the back end for the consensus, right? For that decentralized agreement of data and information. So, there are a number of things that blockchain is going to give us. Whether it be through the tokenization and unlocking of capital, or having more trusted data between counterparties or communities. And then to even if we're going to jump even more forward and kind of say where could this go? One of the most incredible potential use cases I've heard of, in now in the world of AI, is saying, okay, we have all these AI, these large language models, right? All these language learning models, LLMs, whatever that acronym stands for, where they're going to determine, the language learning model is going to determine an outcome, right? The AI is going to tell you, hey, this is how we interpreted what you wanted, right?
Right.
And give you an answer. But these AIs are being trained by people.
Right.
And, so Google has an AI and, everyone has a different AI, but what, am I going to get the same responses from them?
And yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of times you don't get the same responses from them. You ask the same question, you get 3 times, you get 3 slightly different answers.
Yeah. And it's almost as if AI and blockchain came to get married like at the same time.
Hmm.
Because if we're now going back to the, the validator concept or the mining concept per on the network, each server running the protocol, we each have a server to confirm the data. Well, what if we're all each validator is also running an LLM, a different LLM, so that my language model comes to some answer, yours comes to a slightly different answer, right? And then we come to consensus on what was meant by the input,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
So you're using a consensus mechanism now to come to agreement over what was input to the AI, because they may interpret it or give you an output that's not necessarily
Yeah. Not congruent in every situation.
congruent. And that's a good word. I was looking for the right
You
word.
got it. Yeah.